Hello, everybody, and welcome to Narrative. Donald Trump has always sought to project himself as a figure akin to Jesus Christ, a martyr for the American people. From the moment we met him on the political stage, he's positioned himself as a savior. Trump's second presidential campaign has been shrouded in biblical themes of retribution and revenge. He often describes himself as carrying the burdens of his supporters, insinuating that the Department of Justice prosecutors who've been indicting him and accusing him of all these crimes are just targeting him because he's fighting for you, America.
Even in the most perilous moment this week, his instinct was to stand and to fight.
The devil came to Pennsylvania holding a rifle, but an American lion got back up on his feet and he roared!
In reality, Trump is aligned with the wealthiest individuals and entities in the country, if not the world. People like Steven Schwartzman of BlackRock, Elon Musk of Tesla and Twitter and SpaceX, and Russian oligarchs aplenty, and of course billionaire Peter Thiel. His policies and actions have consistently favored that group of people, the rich and powerful in the country, not just the 1%, the very, very, very cream of 0.1%. Contrary to his public persona of being a champion for the average American, he's not once done anything for the average American. Take, for example, his tax cuts. They've primarily benefited the wealthy and corporations while contributing to a ballooning national debt. These moves have prioritized the financial elite over the needs of everyday citizens over and over again. And we shouldn't be surprised. He is, after all, a property developer who made his money selling overpriced condos to foreigners seeking to launder their ill-gotten gains through Trump Towers. He's been convicted of election fraud, sexual assault, and his business has been dubbed a criminal enterprise. He sought to overthrow the election using violent means and has no intention of respecting the U.S. Constitution. J.D. Vance, a venture capitalist, has been now nominated as Trump's vice president. Vance is a highly ambitious man, but at 39 lacks the qualifications traditionally associated with the role, running the free world. His selection places extremists like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel just a phone call away from the vice president's office. Musk was on the phone with Trump for 45 minutes just yesterday, prior to Vance's nomination, which also coincided with Musk's commitment to spend $45 million a month to support Trump's campaign. That's a staggering amount of money for a man who a few months ago said he wasn't going to back any of the candidates. If something happens to Trump, a 39-year-old political neophyte with extremist views will take over the reins of power, ruling the free world, and all at the beck and call of two megalomaniac billionaires, Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. And let's be clear, Vance is no moderate.
I think that what Trump should do, like if I was giving him one piece of advice, fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state, replace them with our people. And when the courts, because you will get taken to court, and when the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it.
Fire everyone in the government, then defy the Supreme Court?
If that sounds a lot like Project 2025 to you, you're right. Vance is fully supportive of that project. Vance has also vowed to cut off Ukraine from the United States military support, giving Russia free rein to attack Europe. World War III, basically. And that's no surprise. After all, Elon Musk is in constant contact with Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. Vance has also been a chief contributor to the narrative of Trump's personal transformation, his resurrection, if you like. He's argued that his own view of Trump was shaped by the media and that the media got it completely wrong. Trump and Vance seem to be getting along just fine for now, but the tea leaf readers say that can't last for very long, or certainly won't last if the money doesn't last. This transformation of Donald Trump, his resurrection, if you will, is paramount to their strategy to win this year's elections. So let's look back at the Saturday incident, a narrowly avoided apparent assassination attempt during an address by Trump in Pennsylvania. The media narrative is filled with dramatic elements. A bullet narrowly missing his head, photographed by an Associated Press photographer. A bloodied ear, everyone could see that, and a miraculous turn of events as the former president survives. The former president. His ear looks perfectly intact today, although he did wear a bandage on his first night. It's just unclear why he didn't go to a hospital or doctor, and we don't have a medical report. Did a bullet actually nip his ear? Do we know that for certain? Could it have been something else? Other flying shrapnel? Could it have been another way that his ear got bloodied? Did the shooter actually shoot directly at him, or were they shooting somewhere else? We just don't know. So that's one of the questions that need to be answered. Exactly what were Trump's injuries and what hit him to cause the injury? Secondly, we need to understand the lapses in security protocol that caused the entire event to happen. After all, the shooter was a 20-year-old Republican. We just don't know his motive. And why was he allowed to be on the roof for 26 minutes after being spotted? The alleged shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, has been identified as a 20-year-old local. He comes from a Republican family, and not just your average Trump-supporting Republican family, but rather a very hardcore Republican family. Here's Channel 4.
Channel 4 News can reveal that Thomas Crooks's father, the owner of the rifle that was used to shoot at Donald Trump, was held on a database and profiled by the former president's election campaign and identified by them as a strong Republican supporter, gun owner, and hunter. The information was compiled as part of a secret Republican project to gather data on millions of gun owners across America and use it to target pro-gun messages in the run-up to the 2016 election. And here's why they did it. The city of Pittsburgh is a key battleground in the critical swing state of Pennsylvania, so voters here are always heavily profiled and targeted by political parties, like the Trump campaign in 2016, which held voters' details on a database, including, as we've discovered, the shooter's family, Matthew Crooks and his wife Mary, who lived here at 2506 Milford Drive in Bethel Park. We know they profiled them using secret computer models to identify likely gun owners and enthusiasts, and Mr. Crooks scored very highly, 0.99 out of 1 for being a gun owner and 0.95 out of 1 for being a hunter. In fact, out of more than 19,000 people in Bethel Park who were profiled, Mr. Crooks was in the top 20, and the database classified him as a strong GOP or Republican voter.
We still don't know the gunman's motives and the reason for these strange lapses in protocol, but we do have an injured president who was either hit by a bullet and made a miraculous recovery, or just missed the bullet by the grace of God and survived the event. The facts probably don't matter as much. What matters is the transformation of our anti-hero into a 21st century messiah, a martyr figure. If Trump's team is pushing a narrative of him being a persecuted savior, an assassination attempt could serve to bolster this image significantly. The media, including heavyweights like Elon Musk, played a significant role in shaping that narrative immediately following the event. Musk's rapid dissemination of images and posts on Twitter underscores a potential orchestrated effort to control the narrative before any questions could be asked. We need to analyze the constructed narrative very carefully, and we also need to remember that they were talking about this unity theme before Trump was assassinated. Nevertheless, the record reads that there was an assassination attempt, and that's all that matters for the convention and his resurrection. But as you watch all these carefully crafted moments with him looking euphoric, almost priest-like, messianic-like, wandering around the Republican National Convention, it's designed to give you some sort of inspirational high as you watch the former president, the convicted felon, suddenly transform himself into a messianic figure, which he most definitely is not. As the Republican National Convention continues, you may want to check your emotions and those of your family to make sure that everyone understands that what you're watching is just an illusion. Well, the reality is still out here, and we still have to fight an election and win it. And we're back. This time we're live. It's good to be with you. Whoa, look at that big wide shot that we can do. Why is that happening? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I hope you enjoyed that opening monologue. I had to get it off my chest. There is just so much going on lately with the narrative building around Donald Trump, this, clearly Jesusification, if you want to call it that, the resurrection of Donald Trump as some sort of messianic figure, which is both, of course, completely wrong, but also so obvious and so scary, because this is the kind of stuff that happens in fascist societies when they become fascist. This is the kind of stuff that happens when you brainwash countries, is you make people believe the completely opposite of the truth. And what we've seen lately is the complete opposite of the truth being presented to the world. I mean, Donald Trump has not transformed himself in the last, 72 hours, even though he might say he has. There's the same Donald Trump and the same machine that made Donald Trump. Nothing has changed. And my thing today was just to come on the air and make sure that I caution everybody that if you're falling for any of this stuff that's going over there, that if you're falling for all the Kool-Aid that they are offering their members there to drink in Milwaukee, think again. This is not the stuff that we need to be even considering a threat, because it isn't really a threat. The reality of it is this stuff is just propaganda. It's designed to just make people completely beholden to this person who has not earned their worth. And we'll spend a lot of time today talking about Joe Biden as well, and talk about someone who has earned their worth and has really deservedly reached the point where he should be doing another term in office. And he's being hammered as well by what I think is an enormous amount of disinformation that's going on right now. I think, when we look at even the Democrats who may believe that they're immune to any form of disinformation. Let me tell you something. Disinformation impacts absolutely all of us all the time. And so a lot of the stuff that might be winding its way around the internet, including how Joe Biden might be tired or sick or whatever it is that you might be getting, don't buy that, because you might be getting some disinformation too. And I include amongst the people who I think are getting some of that disinformation, people who are in Congress. I've watched the president of the United States very closely over the last 4 years, but over the last few weeks, very carefully. He is not in any way incapable of doing this job. He's smart, he's capable, he's on form. And, it's my opinion, not that it matters that much, but that man should only do one thing, and that's run for office. Because there is no one in the Democratic Party who's stood up yet. I've not seen anybody yet stand up and say that they want the job. And if they had stood up, they've certainly, there's been no one impressive enough. I mean, certainly there's a couple of names been floated around. One or two of them might be interested in doing the job, but I don't know if they are. I don't know if the governor of California has the foreign policy chops to do this. And I don't know if the vice president really wants to do it. She's quite competent and capable of being where she is. Now, I'm trying to do some different things today on today's show, because one of the things that I'm really worried about is that there's a lot of people in the bubble talking about how they think the world should go, because they're talking to ourselves. It's easy for me to talk to myself and tell you what I think, and certainly great to talk to the other journalists we talk to here on a regular basis and other pundits, but we don't get to hear as much from everybody. And so what I'm trying to do today is open up two things. I've opened up a space, I guess is what they call it, on Twitter, which you can find there. It's under my name. It says J.D. Vance, Trump assassination attempt, and what should Joe do? Those are the topics we're going to talk. There's one person in there right now who's listening. And I'm also offering you all an opportunity to call in on the regular telephone. Imagine that, regular phone. The number is there on the screen, 646-770-2959. That's 646-770-2959. Rolls off the tongue. I'll say it one more time so you've got it, 646-770-2959. And I just wanted to present an opportunity for all of us to get together to talk about the big issues when they come up, because I fear sometimes that there's a lot of Republican voices on the side of the Twitter screen, and there's certainly a lot of Republican voices everywhere in the media right now, just because it's the GOP convention. So it's worthy of our time to see if there's other voices out there, other people who might have things that you want to share with our audience. For example, what do you think Joe should do? I mean, really, what do you think Joe should do? Joe's got a bunch of options in front of him. He could just walk away. He could completely just say, hey, I'm done. I'm out of here. You guys deal with the problem of the next 4 years. You guys deal with the Donald Trump machine that is being rolled out right now to make him the dictator of America. I'm out. I am going with Jill, and I am going to have a nice vacation and I'm going to relax and you guys take care of the problem. And I guarantee you that there is no one able to take care of this problem like Joe Biden can take care of this problem. I mean, what, is Hakeem Jeffries going to do it? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think he can. I don't think he's got the foreign policy chops. I don't think he knows all the foreign policy members to be able to do that. All the foreign, all the leaders of all the governments. I don't think he knows them in the way that Joe Biden knows them. I don't think he understands the world necessarily the way Joe Biden understands the world. And that goes for absolutely everybody else because he's the most experienced guy in the room. So, if you guys want to fire the most experienced guy in the room because you think that there's something else coming at you, well, I got news for you. Just because they're younger and brasher and may be able to put up a better argument does not make them better at the job of being the president of the United States. There's two things that we have to do. First, we have to win this election and we have to be convincing to the American people. Joe Biden may not be the best communicator in that regard, but Joe Biden is by far the best president we have. So what we need to do is just take this team of incredibly talented people that we have in the Democratic Party and deploy them into the field. Because we have people like Barack Obama, we have people like Bill Clinton, we have people like Hakeem Jeffries, we have people like Ocasio Cortez. We have these incredible people who can go and electrify crowds. Let's get them out there and electrify crowds. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, there's people who can do this kind of stuff, who can send this message to all of America. We don't need to make it all his responsibility. We can have a different approach. We know he's the best president for the job. America is going to know he's the best president for the job very, very soon. And if they don't know it already, and certainly Democrats know in their vast, vast majority that he's the best man for the job. And why I'm not at all concerned by this, absolutely gross festival of obedience and loyalty that is being displayed for us at the Republican National Convention. I'm actually going to throw some of this up here because it's really kind of offensive. This is democracy. This is meant to be a democratic party. This is a country in the United States that's designed to be about democracy. It's designed to be about choice and about policy. And what we've had for the last few days is just this really sickening, homage to Donald Trump, a man who is, but let me remind you all, a felon, a man who has, by all accounts, disgraced himself in every level of his life, whether it's his personal life, his business life, his political life, his, you name it. He's not been a straight shooter in any of those things. And yet here he is being, redesigned for us as a messianic figure of some sort, which we know he is not. So I urge you tonight, with as much as humility as I can, to suggest to you that we just be very careful about what we decide to do here in terms of Joe Biden, because we could land up with this obedience fest, this, I don't know what you would call it, this loyalty festival, this Trumpapalooza that they've got over in Milwaukee, and it could be for all of Americans, not just for the good people of the Republican Party. So those are all things that I want you to digest, because I think that these things are important that we think about them very carefully. That this, what we're seeing now in the GOP, is not good for America. It's not good for all of us who are hoping to build a freer, more democratic future. And if you're one of those people who is tilting maybe a little bit, maybe you're considering shifting over to the Republican Party, well, don't do it, because there's nothing that fun over there, even though they might pretend. They certainly put up a good show, and they did put up a good show yesterday and today. But is it really worth it? Do they really show you anything that's that fabulous, that's amazing? I don't think they do. So what I'm trying to do is get this full screen as well, so you guys can see it in full screen. In fact, I'm going to put up the volume and let you guys digest some of what they're giving to the good people of the TV lands, while I try to figure out some of these other technical issues that I have here. But I've also got something really interesting coming up for you. I've got brand new information about what's happening right now in the case of the assassin and the attempted assassin. We're going to find lots of new, really interesting information about that. That is coming up. Plus, I'll tell you exactly why J.D. Vance is going to be the vice presidential nominee for the Republican Party. And it has nothing to do with anything other than the money. The money. And I'm going to expose all of that a little bit later in the show as we try to get to the top of the hour here. So stick around for those reports. And I've got all sorts of other good stuff that I want to share with you tonight. But let me see first if I can get us to listen in to what's going on at the GOP. Can I? I don't think I can because there's no volume. Huh. Why is there no volume? Well, there's no volume, so I can make you listen in. But that's if I do this, I can turn up the volume. There you go. Okay. So you can see how sophisticated my setup here is. But I still don't think we're hearing anything.
Country where they could achieve anything. I will forever be grateful to them. I love America, and I've lived the American dream. I married my best friend, raised a family, built successful businesses, and created thousands of jobs for hardworking Americans. But the American dream that I lived is under attack from Joe Biden and his enablers in the Senate like Sherrod Brown. They have encouraged millions of illegals to invade America. And Joe Biden's border czar, Kamala Harris, and the Democrat Senate have put the welfare of illegals ahead of our own citizens. They've destroyed our border. They destroyed our economy. They've destroyed our standing in the world. And they'll destroy America if we don't stop them. In November, we will fire Biden and Harris, and we will re-elect President Donald J. Trump.
Fly in the coop, but I need some more. Your antics make me bored, cause I just came around to say hello. Oh, oh, oh. I just came around to say hello. Say hello.
Well, hello. That's very nice of her to do that. So listen, I get news for you. Oh, he's back up here. Let me put it back up here.
J.D. Vance will be the next Vice President of the United States. He represents the best of Ohio, the best of America, and will be an incredible leader and defender of President Trump's plan to always put America first. And he won't stop there. Sherrod Brown votes with Biden virtually 100% of the time. I don't know if I agree with my wife 100% of the time. But Sherrod and Joe seem to have a very close relationship. Well, tonight, we've got a message for failed lifelong politicians like Sherrod Brown and Joe Biden. It's time to go home.
That's a good line.
A vote for Trump and Marino is a vote to put America first. We will end the invasion at our southern border. We will fix our economy, protect American workers, and rescue America's family from Biden's and Brown's inflation. We will end the wars and deliver peace. I will fight alongside Donald Trump to make America stronger, safer, and more prosperous. Thank you, and may God continue to bless the United States.
So what's not apparent there to Mr. Moreno is that, yes, they're going to try and make peace. They're definitely going to try to do that.
From Michigan, Mike Rogers.
Oh, no, I can't listen to Mike Rogers. I love the guy. We're not going to do it now. I can't believe he's even going to speaking position here. Let's take a listen to what Mike Rogers actually has to say. Can you believe how much they've changed?
For the United States Senate for the great state of Michigan.
What? Michigan? I thought you lived in Long Island.
Give a quick shout out to my fellow Michiganders, the hardest working people in the United States. God bless you right there. Listen, because Joe Biden and my liberal opponents runaway spending, American families have been.
Okay, I'm not going to put us through this because it's not necessary to listen to this again. But I just want to share a couple of thoughts of what the guy just said there. Because truthfully, you know, what they're going to do under J.D. Vance's, we should actually just call it the party of Elon Musk now. Because Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, who many years ago, maybe not even 2 years, maybe a year or two ago, promised the world that they would not be supporting any candidate financially in the 2024 election cycle, have broken their word. And in fact, they're going to do exactly that. They're going to support Donald Trump to the tune of $45 million every month from now until Election Day. These are the same people who were shocked and appalled when we exposed to them what Donald Trump had done with the Mar-a-Lago documents, when we exposed to them all the other shady things that he had done that he's currently under indictment. When we exposed their potential involvement in that, because they were supporters of him, they said, hey, we're not going to get involved in this. We're not going to get involved in this next time. We'll stand down any involvement in politics in 2024. And yet here we are, a year later, and Elon Musk is pouring so much money into the race that it's almost unthinkable how much money is being thrown at them by these by Thiel and Musk. And then on top of that, we've got Thiel, who said that he was not going to, again, support anyone except J.D. Vance, is now also part of this PAC, this Political Action Committee that was launched just yesterday or the day before. That PAC is all about supporting Donald Trump to the tune of $45 million a month. And this from the very people who told us, swore up and down that they hated what Trump was doing, that they would never elect him again, they would not do it again. So what changed? You have to ask the question, what changed between then and now? Because something dramatically different is going on in the world of Peter Thiel and Elon Musk to get them to suddenly fork over what will be about $135 million, which is an extraordinary amount of money in a political campaign. And we just think about how much money, how much power, how much they will control because of the fact that they can put in $135 million into an election campaign. It's truly an astonishing amount of money, and dangerous amount of money too, I would say. And so I'm going to pull up a slide here to help me explain to you how serious this is. Hopefully it came through. So I apologize for the background looking a little too muddy. There was a different one, but this is what I could do. So in 2023, Musk and Thiel told us all that they would not donate in 2024 to any candidate. They promised no candidate would get their support in 2024. And now in 2024, they have decided to give $45 million, to come to about $135 million every month by the time the election happens. So, but by November, it'll be 3 months. They'll be able to have folks over $45 million per month, equaling $135 million to the Trump campaign. And why are they doing that? Like, we have to ask that question very critically and seriously. Why are Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, who promised they'd be out of elections, out of politics, why are they doing it? Well, because their man, J.D. Vance, was given the vice presidency nomination. And I bet you it cost them $135 million to get J.D. Vance that position. So whomever, we all know how transactional Donald Trump is. He doesn't care as long as he's getting the money. And he got some money, I bet you, from Thiel and Musk. And that's why we have this very extreme senator from Ohio who is going to be potentially the vice president of the United States. And if so, could be the man who, is a hairbreadth away from being the president of the United States and has absolutely no reason and no experience and no abilities in this regard. I mean, he spent maybe a year in the Senate. He cannot possibly be a relied upon senior executive for the country. And yet here he is in that position because of the complete arrogance of Musk and Thiel, who believe that they should be the ones who pick who's in power. And of course, why are they doing that? Because they know that if they buy out the vice presidency, if they buy out the presidency, they can get business deals that are favorable to them, business terms that are favorable to them, whether it's certain taxation laws, whatever it is, maybe subsidies for the Tesla vehicles that have been doing so horribly. Tesla's in a bit of a free fall. Tesla might collapse. I'm not sure who's causing that, but it seems to me that Tesla might collapse. And wouldn't it be nice for Elon Musk if he had a president in the White House that could help him get out of that collapse when he needed it? So I think that is what we are seeing here, is that kind of selfish, arrogant corruption that's going on. And, for Musk and Thiel, who, this is this flavor amongst the new Republican Party of these white, I don't want to say pretty because, it's not really what I'm trying to say, but very clean cut, but in a kind of slimy way. Um, Look that you were getting out of all these three. I mean, look at this Vance character. Look at Teal. Look at Musk. They're all sort of cut from the same cloth. And there's certainly no diversity there. There's certainly no America there. You don't see any difference in opinion or thought. They just think that they're the greatest, and therefore they should be the ones who rule the planet. When in fact we know that's not the case at all. But this is what you get. More importantly, what you get when you invest this kind of money into the White House, and where do you get that kind of money? I mean, who gives that kind of donation unless you're really, really wealthy? And I know they're worth several billion each, but boy, it's a lot of money that they're forking over. Maybe that's because a lot of the money might be coming from other interests, other nation states as well. Because, all these three characters, particularly J.D. Vance and particularly Elon Musk, have a real affinity for this man on the very left of this picture here. We have Vladimir Putin. And so what we face now with this incredible investment is that a much more formidable challenge to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and the potential that in a few years from now, we could have, if Trump isn't around and J.D. Vance continues to, is actually elected vice president and then actually continues to try to run for president, we could have a complete Manchurian candidate, openly evocative and openly supportive of Vladimir Putin. From now already, he's already saying that there's no ways the United States should stay in Ukraine, should stay supportive of Ukraine. That is complete nonsense. And anyone who understands the world needs to understand that the one thing stopping Putin from coming across and being the Hitler of our generation is our effects in what's going on in Ukraine. And so to back away from that, even though it might be expensive to be spending that kind of money, in the long term, the amount of money we're spending there is really nothing compared to the kind of money we could be losing if America was attacked on the home front. And J.D. Vance knows that. J.D. Vance knows that. I find this very unsettling today because I have not got my usual way of communicating with you all. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're actually hearing some of this because I have no way of knowing what you guys can hear or see because I've got it all wired up for you guys to call in. And none of you have called in. I feel a little offended. Come on, pick up the phone. Give me a call. 646-770-2959. 646-770-2959. I will gladly talk to you there. And there's a couple of people in the space room. I don't know if you guys can hear me at all there. I think I can hear you. Is anyone there? I guess. Let's see. Is anyone there? Is anyone in this? I don't even know how to use a space. I guess I should figure this out before I talk to you guys. But I think you can hear me now. I hope you can. If anyone is listening at the space that I've created here for our conversation today, and anyone would like to talk, raise your hand or do what you want. Oh, look, someone's actually calling. Hello, let's find out who's on the phone. Hello, who am I talking to? Ooh, hello? Oh, 1 second. Don't go away. Do not go away. I've got to do something here before I can talk to you. You know what? I have no idea why this is not playing. So let me do this. The old-fashioned way. They taught us how to do this at school. Hello, who's there? Hello? Hi, tell me your name again. Okay, Katie, why not? How are you doing today? Oh, there's an echo, isn't there? That's something I didn't expect. So this is all new to me. I apologize.
Okay,
Let me see if I can fix this. Don't despair on me
off
here.
the
I think I've
audio.
got it fixed if I do it this way. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
That's better.
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
How I am today
Tell me how
is
you are.
I'm dismayed by headlines I'm seeing about polls and lack of support for Joe Biden. I want to say that I want to see Joe Biden stay in the race. He has my highest trust and has for a generation.
Well, I agree with you. I happen to think the same way about him. He's really a remarkable leader and has done a remarkable job. And I don't think people why I wanted to do tonight's show is to hear exactly from people like you who might not be breaking through to the people in in DC in the the vaulted country rooms or country club rooms of the DNC, because I don't think that they understand how much grassroots support there is for Joe Biden. There is enormous grassroots support, and people adore him, as you do. What is it that you like so much about him?
I like his compassion, his experience, his knowledge of foreign policy, his exquisite touch with bipartisan legislative negotiations.
Yeah, he certainly is like an old school politician that way, isn't he? I mean, he really knows how to cut a deal with the opposition in a way that you just don't get today from most politicians. He's able to walk across to his Republican opponents and to say, "Hey, let's cut a deal. I'll even take on your policies myself." And he's done that a number of times, and that's why he's had such an incredible first term. I don't know, why do you think people are don't think he's capable of doing this again in a second term? What do you think is going on?
Well, I don't know anybody who thinks that he's not, except for Republicans of my acquaintance. Mm-hmm. But I have a largely Democratic circle, and everyone is enthusiastic about Biden, and especially after his extraordinary first term. Frankly, the major media has simply ignored his accomplishments, and they are formidable. I do think historians are saying he will go down as one of the top 10 presidents in history, even with the accomplishments, even if it turns out to be only one term, even on the basis of his first term. To say nothing of his contribution to the policy successes, the legislative successes of the Obama administration. I credit his ability to talk legislation to the Congress, particularly the Senate, with the success of the ACA bill. Mm-hmm.
I agree with you.
I'm sure you do.
No,
That's why I watch you, Sam.
Well, good. I'm glad you watch me for that reason, because I just think that this guy's done it. For firstly, the legislation has been a remarkable effort, but I think the in terms of his greatness, and we'll know this only if he's able to compete in this next election. And I hope Democrats don't get in the way of success here, because you've got a successful president who wants a second term, who's willing to go at it for another 4 years, when he frankly has other things he wants to do with the rest of his life. I'm sure this is not he's got other priorities as well. He's willing to give up the last few years of his life just to be with us, and to give up those years and to give us his knowledge and skill set. And if he's able to actually stop this attack on democracy, fundamental to everything that's going on right now is this attack on democracy. What we're seeing at the Republican National Convention is Vladimir Putin's party trying to take over the entire U.S. government. And we are all watching it with kind of like, it's hard to digest it. I watch it all the time and I'm like, is this really happening? And you've seen like this vast number of Americans that have been, co-opted, that they're in it. They're in it now. The Republican Party is now a Russian Kremlin kind of party. That's where the backing comes from, especially when you look at what Elon Musk and where his affiliations lie. So now you've got, if we're able to stop this, if it'll be Joe Biden who can stop this, because Joe Biden is the only one who's been able to stop him so far. Joe Biden knows Vladimir Putin very well. He knows Xi very well.
Right.
He knows how to stop these guys. He knows what moves them and what doesn't move them. There's no one else in the Democratic Party who spent any time or as much time with Putin or Xi the way that Joe Biden has. And I mean, that to me is enough. That to me right there is enough of a qualification for him to continue if he can, If he can't because he's gotten sick or whatever, I mean, sure, then step down. But right now, he's still capable. He's still got it going on. He's been very impressive lately.
Joe Biden is the only presidential candidate who Trump has ever been afraid of. Mm-hmm. And when we say there's an attack on democracy, certainly it's in the United States, but it's also in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a large part of what's going on, why the oligarchs are, shall we say, descending like vultures on the Biden campaign, on Biden's presidency. What I love about Joe Biden also is how he was able to unite a completely disassembled and demoralized NATO leadership into a significant force for support of Ukraine and potentially for Europe.
I think that's...
Boy, I've said my piece, I think.
You've done great. You've done great. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you phoning because I was feeling a little lonely, and I'm glad you called. And if anyone else wants to call, give me a call. It's 646-770-2959. Thanks so much. It's KT, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Thanks for supporting Narrative, and thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Seb. All my pleasure.
Bye-bye. That is about the first call we've had ever on the show. So I'm just going to say that I'm really proud that we were able to do that on a regular phone. We've had video calls before, but I don't think we've ever had phone calls before from listeners. So the number's there on the screen, 646-770-2959. I'm not going to keep going on for too long, but let me just say, and until the top of the hour here, that what was just said there by Katie is so important because really, there is nothing like a president who has personal relationships with the leaders of the world and goes back 40 years. He's got beefs, he's got knowledge, he's got experience, he knows exactly what to say. When Bibi Netanyahu is trying to blow him over, or where she is trying to lie to him about something, or when Putin's trying to, take over a country in Eastern Europe that he shouldn't even consider taking. By the way, it's my dog who's yelping in the background, who won't stop because he wants to come out and play. And I don't blame him, but he can't right now. So let me just assure you that there is no one better than Joe Biden. And I hope, I'm going to keep doing these open lines because I want to hear from all of you about why you want Joe Biden to stay in the race, because I think that they are beginning to eat away at him and eat away at his support. And maybe he'll stay firm and will stay in the races. I hope he certainly does. But there are a lot of people who will not vote for Joe Biden because they're hearing all this negativity. I'm not even sure that that's entirely true. I think everyone knows what's going on. I think everyone has a real clear sense of what's going on. But let's say there's a few undecided people who might decide, hey, Joe Biden is too old, too frail, too whatever. I can't vote for him. That isn't actually true about Joe Biden. That is stuff that's disinformation. That's where you're getting it from. You're getting it from, fake videos that are sent out online and a bunch of other things. So I really, really want you to think very hard about where you get your news from, about being very critical of what you're seeing. And just circling back to the start of the show, what we're seeing here is not a typical convention. This is not the way conventions normally look and feel like. It's got this kind of ceremonial feel that I have not seen before at conventions. Now, I've been to a couple of Republican national conventions, and they are tedious at best. But I will also say, hey, you get speeches like this, exactly the one you're seeing right now from the governor of West Virginia. But you also get an incredible look into the kind of people that are there. And yes, this is a different kind of Republican Party. It's perhaps a little less. Well, looking at the crowd there, I was going to say it's a little less white, but I don't think it is less white. It's very white. Republican Party, when you go there to this convention, is very, very white. It's very starkly obvious that it's a party for mostly white people, some mostly rich people, perhaps. A lot of people walking around with their caps, their hats, and whatever. And of course, that's America. That's of course they belong there. But I think what's changed is that some of the people in the Republican Party are no longer there. Some of the conservatives who were just old school conservatives are not there, and they've been replaced by a variety of newcomers that are very, very extreme. And more importantly, they've all committed themselves to being against democracy. This is an anti-democratic party. They might be looking to you like a regular convention of a Democratic Party in the United States, but they are anything but. They are, in fact, a dictatorial party that's currently under the control of a Russian president who does not believe in democracy, and who's worse than that, is actually currently involved in the in breaking the rules. If you recall, as you should, and I'm sorry for the other people who've been caught, and just keep trying, and I'll pay more attention. There is a real, we don't do this anymore to countries in the world. You don't go into Ukraine and try overtake Ukraine. We don't do that in the world anymore. We don't go into any territories, although look what we just did in Gaza. But the general thinking is that that's no longer the way we'd run the world. And yet here we are, about to acquiesce to the Russians and their demands for parts of Ukraine if Donald Trump and J.D. Vance get their way. You're also going to get, if Donald Trump and J.D. Vance get their way, you're going to get abortion rights clawed away around the country, no matter what they say. You're going to have contraception removed. You're going to have voters' rights clawed away. You're going to be able to not trust any election from now on, if we have elections, and we may not have elections. Because this is a party of the elite of the elite. This is the party of the 0.01%. These are not just the very rich. They're the very, very, very rich. And the scary thing that they do is they pretend to be the party of the people. But they're not the party of the people. They've never done anything for the people. They've done only things to profit themselves, including taking over this party and now turning it into a corruption machine, which is really what they will do. Once this party is elected again, you will not believe the amount of corruption that will go on. You will not believe the amount of uncertainty and the chaos and the inability to predict what we're doing from one day to another, because everything will be transactional for this government. And J.D. Vance is not going to be a loyal vice president to Donald Trump. Mark my words. He will be a very, very in-your-face kind of vice president. And I suspect Donald Trump won't even be there maybe for a full term. We talk about Joe Biden not being there for a full term. Can Donald Trump really survive J.D. Vance for a full term? I don't know if he can, because in reality, you've got someone there who's quite a backstabber, who's quite an opportunist, who's quite an operative. But more importantly, the money for Donald Trump, the $135 million, where is that coming from? The $135 million is coming from Elon Musk, and it's coming from Peter Thiel, who are both so close. Peter Thiel is J.D. Vance's patron. He's the guy who made J.D. Vance. That is where you get all that power coming from, all that money coming from. And that is why we are, tonight, when we hear J.D. Vance speaking, you're almost going to be hearing the president speak, because he's going to be a very powerful vice president by virtue of the fact that he's got all the purse strings. He's going to be the bag man in the White House, and that means he'll be able to call the shots. And maybe Donald Trump won't even survive the first year or two in office. He's old. He's very old. He's lost his faculties a lot. He's had a very trying time. He's also got some criminal charges that he has to still deal with. Maybe, of course, he won't while he's in the White House. But if he's there, this is a very dangerous situation that we're setting up. We might be landing up in a situation where we've got a 39-year-old taking over the White House's presidency, and we lose the vice president. We lose the president. And then what do we get is we get this vice president, J.D. Vance, who's an extremist, who believes in Project 2025, who believes in pulling out of Ukraine, not supporting Ukraine at all in their fight against Russia, plus many, many other very complicated, difficult legislation efforts like abortion, IVF, God knows what else he thinks of. The immigration certainly is going to be the biggest challenge, that they intend to deport 1 million people a day. I mean, this is astonishing. I mean, what kind of country are we living in? All right, that's the show for me tonight. I wanted to go a full hour. I've done a full hour almost. And I thank you very much for allowing me into this little space. I'm not normally here at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I just wanted to see what it would be like to pop in here and see if there was an audience and an interest in me continuing to be here at 5 o'clock and listening to your calls and taking your calls, because I'd like to hear from you. Like I heard from Katie over there. I don't think we're hearing the real people anymore. I want to be able to hear the real people of America, and I'm happy to host that every hour, every day if we need to at 5 o'clock, just as we run into the elections here, because I want to hear from you guys about what you think about who should be on the Democratic ticket, because there's not enough vocal support, I think, for Joe Biden coming out of D.C. for various reasons, mostly for money and other reasons. But let's bring that back. Let's turn that around. Let's get people on the phones here at 5 o'clock every day. Let's get people talking to the rest of America and explain to them why Joe Biden is the guy to not only lead the Democratic Party ticket, but also to lead America into this final stage of our conflict against Russia as the war for democracy continues. I thank you very much for being here tonight. Hope you enjoyed my report earlier about Donald Trump and the GOP convention. That will all be on Substack, and it will also be on my newsletter. You can sign up to my newsletter at narrative.org, narrativ.org. Well, there you go. I took myself off camera. I don't even know if you heard any of that, but maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I'll just remind you again that you can subscribe to Narrative in various ways on my newsletter at narrative.org, narrativ.org, on Substack at narrative, narrativ.substack.com, and at patreon.com/narrative, narrativ. And the reason why we asked you to sign up is simply because we need your support. There's only 120 days left in this election. I'm putting everything I have into as much coverage as we can. I'm going to try to be here every day at 5 o'clock to take your calls, plus more, because I think we just need to be there and be supportive and get platforms for people so people can express themselves and so we can communicate with each other as we head into the election. And we've certainly seen in the last few weeks that there's not a lot of
16102-839-90.
Hello. Hello? Hello? I don't know if there's anyone there. Hello? I'm guessing not. Sorry about that. I don't know if it's something I'm doing or you're doing, but I appreciate you calling in. We've seen in the last few weeks, there is no national media that's really in favor of Joe Biden. And that's sad because I believe Joe Biden is the greatest president we've seen in a long time. And that's why I continue
102.
Oops. Hello, are you there? Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi.
This is Bonnie Saunders.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
Deb?
Yeah, how you doing, Bonnie?
Hi. Oh my goodness. How are you?
It's so nice to talk to you. I feel like I text you all the time. Oh, sorry.
What? You know, I am sorry I didn't join you there, but maybe I will. It's just that I'm living on less money.
I'm just trying to figure out why it's so.
Anyway.
Can you hear? There's a lot of echo, isn't there? Let me see if I can turn it off. So
yeah, there is.
Let me see if that's any better.
Oh, that's because I did turn you off.
It's you. Okay.
I wanted to say I'm so angry that everybody thinks Joe is so old at 81 because I'm 82 and I could kick their ass.
I bet you can. I bet you can.
It's infuriating.
It is. Why? It's not that old. I don't know why people think it's so old. I mean, it's
not that old. I mean, look at all the people in their 90s.
Yeah.
That are still producing art and great work. It's
absolutely
crazy. And Joe is so kind. He's such a kind man.
And he's in good shape. He's in, like, he's smart. He can listen to him and he's good at reasoning. He's not like, he's certainly capable of doing this job. He does it brilliantly every day. So I agree with you. I think that he's not actually that old. And he's certainly, Donald Trump is not that much younger. I mean, you're not really.
Donald Trump's in much worse shape.
I think so too.
He's in much worse shape.
I mean, if you did a side-by-side health analysis between these two people, Joe Biden would come up way ahead, I think.
Oh, he looks great. And he exercises. And anyway, this other guy that just got Vance, he's horrific. And I think he's going to help Joe win.
I think so too.
He's so anti-Ukraine and he's so anti-abortion. And he's just a fat pumpkin head.
I think so, and he's kind of he's beholden to all these billionaires, right? He's just beholden to Peter Thiel. He's beholden to Elon Musk. He's not. Did you read the book? Did you read the book? What's it called? The something elegy, whatever he called it, that he wrote. His big famous book, his bestseller. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but when you actually dig into
the Hillbilly Elegy.
Hillbilly Elegy is
I
correct.
heard the movie was horrible. My husband saw the movie and said it was horrible.
I read the book. It was quite good.
I wouldn't read it.
But I will say something. But the most interesting thing I took away from the book is that he basically said that in order to make it in America, you have to really suck up to the powers that be and work your way, sort of a networker, to get to the top of your game. Because that's how he did it in Yale. Yeah. He didn't actually. It's not about the studying at Yale. He said it's about the getting to the top and getting to all the dinner parties and schmoozing and all that kind of stuff. Which isn't really what America's about. Maybe it is, but it's also about about the right people having. Just being able to get ahead because of their merits. That's really what I thought America was about. And, some of the other stuff is important, but he doesn't really, that wasn't very inspirational to me. It was like, okay, when you get there, ignore the books and just schmooze your way to the top, and do anything you can, suck up to everybody just to get to the top. And that's basically what he's done ever since.
He's sucking up to Putin too.
Yeah. I mean, that's clearly.
Sucking up to Putin.
Yeah. That must come that must come with a good sized check as well. I suspect that, Putin's got a lot of people that he's cutting checks to, both in the Republican Party and in the Democratic Party. I don't think we understand that there's they're ideological, but they're not really ideological. They just want to make sure they cause chaos. So there are people that they pay on both sides to cause chaos. And maybe that's one of the reasons we're seeing Joe Biden having such a hard time these days, is because some of the Democrats who might be pocketing checks from the Russians or whomever.
I know, they are disgusting. Adam Schiff really pissed me off today. And all of these senators and Congress people that are coming out against him, but there's still a small percentage taking all of the Democrats in Congress, in the Senate and the House.
Bonnie, I'm really interested in your thoughts, because today they announced that they weren't going to do the roll call the way that they thought they were going to do. They're going to do a virtual roll call in early August to nominate Biden, but they said that they were going to hold off on that now, which puts his.
Well, I think they weren't supposed to do it this soon. I think that's why people wanted to stop it happening this soon. I mean, it was happening earlier than what happened.
We know who the nominee is. We know who he is. He's not going to change. He's got the delegates. He's in it. He says he's in it. There's no changing that right now, and especially when there's no alternative to that. I mean, if someone came up and said, "Hey, here's person X who's the best alternative to Joe Biden ever," and it actually is the best alternative to Joe Biden, of course people would look at that. But there's nobody. So, it's just like, let's beat ourselves up. Let's bash our own candidate up as much as we can so we can lose support. I don't even understand the rationale behind all of this. It's so it just doesn't make any sense, unless it's money, unless they're all just trying to get more money for their own campaigns, which could be, it seems to be some of the case.
That could be. Yeah. That could be what it is. But I send money to different campaigns. I get constant. I'm sure everybody in the whole United States gets constant emails and texts. And there's certain people that they get to me, and I've got to support them. Like Sherrod Brown and John Tester, and all the people that are having, even Klobuchar, whoever is fighting, who has billionaires running against them. I'm supporting them in a small way, but.
It's so important that you do it. That's how it's done. It's because people like you pay a small amount. I mean, it's kind of sad that that's where we are in American politics, that it's all about the right fundraising. I mean, us average people, ordinary people, have to compete against billionaires. So we have to combine forces to outgun Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. It's not right. It's not fair.
Oh, he's so horrible, Peter Thiel. And I don't understand why as a gay man, I don't understand how he could be how he is. He's so evil.
Well,
because they're against gay people.
There's a lot of people inside the Republican Party establishment that are gay, and I always find myself kind of just shaking my head, because I know why. I know because it's they'll still sell these souls to whatever, and they don't respect themselves. But at the end of the day, they believe some things that are just obnoxious and terrible and have no space on this planet, and that's the Republican Party could be a really great party, you know, and still have good values and good morals and be all these things and be highly electable, and yet they choose to go this other way, and it's because there's a lot of sneaky, mean, corrupt people inside that party. Some of whom may be gay.
Yeah. Anyway, I love you. I think you have been on. I've been following you for years, ever since I first got on Twitter, and then I got kicked off right after January 6th, and I can't get back on. They said
Really?
I was too abusive. I mean, I looked at my past tweets. There was nothing abusive except I was anti-Trump. But anyway, I've been following you. Oh, thank you. But I really think you're fantastic, and I love your voice. And I posted this. I hate Threads. Threads is nothing. I don't have any relationships with anybody on Threads. It's just, I really like Twitter because I was on it since 2009, and I found lots of great people. But
Twitter's
I
where
could
it's
go
at.
on it, but it's not the same. You know, I can't say anything, and I'm very opinionated. At the time, I get riled up.
That's good. That's good. We need to hear opinions.
Yeah.
Listen, I love Twitter too, and I love you. Thank you so much for your support of Narrative, and thank you for supporting Joe Biden too. And I think that all this hand wringing that's going on is for naught. We are going to have a remarkable victory for Joe Biden in November.
I think we're going to have a landslide because there's this astrologer that I actually hired him to do because I got married at 15. I was a mother at 16. Now I'm 82 and I have a 65-year-old daughter.
Wow.
But I feel as young as I ever did. And
age is just a number.
What did I get again?
Age is just
It
really is.
But it was wonderful to talk to you, and I'll be following you.
Likewise. Thanks for calling into the show today. Thanks very much, Bonnie.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye. Isn't that great? I love hearing from people on the show, and it's so terrific to hear from Bonnie. Bonnie's been a real favorite of mine. In the many years that we've done Narrative, which is now almost 8 years, there have been some incredibly generous people who've supported Narrative, and I thank you all for keeping us afloat, keeping this voice going. You know, over the years, we've landed up being quite influential, and I appreciate your help in doing that, because I don't think any of these stories would have gotten out if we had not had your support. And I say we like a royal we, but I don't mean that. I just mean it's us as a community. We've been able to really get the word out on so many stories. And speaking of letting the word out, I've got to let my dog out of that room or he's going to have a heart attack. His name's Boomer. I also noticed my camera's all wonky today, so I'm going to try to fix that for next time we're on the air. I wish you the best of times tonight. I hope you will support Narrative in the various platforms I told you about, and I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. I'm going to try to do this, maybe not every day, but every few days. I will want to hear from you about why you think Joe Biden should stay in the race. And, let's keep this conversation going. I think we need to make as many people aware that there are a lot of people out there who support Joe Biden. Make that the grassroots campaign that it really is. Make sure that your senators, your congressmen, come on the show as often as you can, but to make sure that people know that you support Joe Biden. If your congressman is one of those people that is campaigning against Biden or insisting that Biden drop out, well then, make sure they hear about it. Make sure you write them. Make sure you call their offices. Make sure you bug them all the time to say you want them to support your candidate, Joe Biden, because it's the right thing to do. And I think that kind of stuff is really important just to get the ball rolling here. On that note, good night, everybody.
One day, you'll tell the story of autocrats, crooks, and kings who came for our freedom. A story of citizens who stood up to tyranny and won. The people prevailed and renewed an old vow to a more perfect union. And that was just the beginning. The story continues. Narrative, where truth lives.